Muscle memory. Let's talk about it. Good evening. I'm Toby, and this is Lapus 210. Tonight, we're talking about muscle memory. What is muscle memory? How does it actually apply to you in your real life? How do you train for muscle memory? How do you create muscle memory? And more importantly, let's dispel a few myths that surround the idea or the concept of muscle memory. Muscle memory is generally considered the repetition that builds a habit, a formed set of movements that become so instinctive that you don't have to even think about it. You automatically do it, almost autonomical in their application. When I say autonomical, meaning something that happens automatically. Your heart beating, breathing, the function of your body internally that doesn't require your conscious effort. More importantly, I think it's important to think about when you create muscle memory, really what you're focused on is nerves. We have bottom up and top down. Now I talk about bottom up and top down at the end of all my videos. From the bottom up, taking in your environment, and from the top down, making sound decisions. Well, the bottom up is the peripheral nervous system, and the top down is the central nervous system, meaning your brain, primarily your brain. Now obviously your spine plays a major role in all that because that's what nerves are traveling through. But muscle memory, in its truest form, is neural pathways. When you do something enough, your body sort of creates a more efficient system of message transfer. If I throw a rock at you, your natural reaction might be to dodge the rock or put your hands up and flinch. But if you respond to it, if you're trained to respond to me throwing that rock at you, you might just catch the rock or simply step out of the way. But this could happen so seamlessly that through repetition, through time, you create neural pathways within your peripheral to central nervous system, and from your central nervous system back down to your peripheral, that it becomes autonomic, becomes refined, it speeds up. Your nervous system's already incredibly fast, but through repetition, and we'll say correct repetition, you start to develop what they refer to today as muscle memory. Now, to say it's not muscular would be completely inaccurate and unfair. It is muscular, but the muscles don't fire on their own. Everything requires nerves, those neurons, that message coming from your central nervous system. That's what tells your body you must do something. Even when you touch something that's hot, when you retract back instantly, it might be autonomical, but it's because your body conveys a message from the peripheral. It processes that information and sends it back. So I touch that hot stove, I immediately retract my hand. Why? My body tells me it's hot and it hurts. So my body tells my hand, remove yourself from the hot surface. So when we start building our muscle memory, how we train with our weapons, how we train in hand to hand, how we train in almost everything we do, it starts to become autonomic. It starts to become something that's automatic. You do it instantly, and it becomes refined over time. Hence why we push so hard for people to shoot on the weak side. Why? Because when I shoot my primary side, over time it's become repetition. It's become refined, perfected. So when you start training with your weaker side that doesn't train as much, you have to build those same neural pathways. I can tell myself, shoot with my left hand, and I can do that. But it won't be as refined as my right hand. And that's okay. But we can keep refining that. We can keep training that. And we can keep creating those neural pathways that build to muscle memory. Now when you create that muscle memory, that message is received across a neural cleft onto dendrites into the axon down the stem, and then it keeps repeating that process. But what happens is, when you create muscle memory, that there becomes a refined pathway specifically for certain actions, right? For certain information that your peripheral nervous system is taking in, like your vision. As my eyes are seeing something, it's being passed along that optical nerve. My brain can now process that a little bit faster because I'm seeing it all the time. We do the same thing in your ability's brain to process traumatic events. Why the use of moulage and other techniques in training for combat have become more graphic and realistic. It makes it easier for your brain to process those scenes and those events, and you're not seeing them for the first time. That exposure, like muscle memory, creates refined and perfected movement. Just as seeing a traumatic event albeit in training, helps prepare you for the real thing. So when you do see it in real life, you're better prepared to handle both the trauma that you're seeing, out laying in front of you, but also your ability to respond to that. Again, I didn't say react, I said respond. That becomes an important part of the muscle memory process. You're taking reactions and you're creating an extinction event with those reactions. I need to create a response. A response is trained. A reaction is more of a natural response to something else. So when I work on creating responses to something, let's say a weapons malfunction, as I drill that response over and over, it becomes not only more refined, but it becomes more instinctual. Again, we're creating neural pathways, i.e. muscle memory. Again, this has been my academic exposure and my practical exposure through life. But as a person who specializes in psychology, I feel it's important that we point out this and we make sure we delineate the importance that when we're dealing with what we call muscle memory, if we're going to talk about muscle memory, training to a standard, learning the correct standard, training to time, that's going to help create that muscle memory that you desire. That's going to help create that end effect that you need that, God willing, will help keep you alive in a bad situation. And as always, from the bottom up, take in your environment, and from the top down, make sound decisions. Good night.